G'day mate, 40 here. Didn't sleep well, so I was up at 3 a.m. and wanted to read this book on talk radio, and I found it available on Scribe. So put down for a free 30-day subscription to Scribe and read something like Vox Populi, the voice of the people on talk radio. Powered through it in about an hour. Then I put talk radio into Scribe and read a book on how to be a radio presenter from a British perspective. Good tips. And they said one way that you can judge your manner, like how relaxed you are, is by how relaxed your guests are. Ricardo's here. Did you end up watching the documentary Germans and the Jews? No, is that on Netflix? I haven't seen it, so thanks for reminding me. So I thought this was a really good test for how at ease you are, is by how at ease are your callers, or your chatters, or your guests. Because those who put on like their professional DJ voice, right, have a kind of that stilted professional radio presenter manner, right, that's going to bring out a stilted manner from your guests, right? We have a profound effect on other people, and I think we tend to underestimate the effect we have on others. It's just when we try to get anyone to do anything that we almost never have success. But if I just share, for example, with acquaintances how much I'm enjoying the cricket, the chances are 10% or more of them will like look up information on the latest Ashes conquest going on in England. If I talk about a favorite singer or a favorite writer, the odds of 5-10% people I chat with about it will pick it up. Like, we have a tremendous influence on people, and one of the ways that shows is in our body tension levels. Right? When you're around certain people, they just make you tense. It's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV for 99 cents. Okay, I think I can afford that. So when I think about certain people, right, I just start tensing up. So I did my round of calls with my sponsees this morning, talking about the fourth step and like threats to our self-esteem. Right, that tends to like bring out not very happy part of me, but threats to my status, particularly my status in front of pretty young women. Whoa, that gives a 10 out of 10 intensity resentment reaction from me. Or just threats to my social status in general, or threats to my economic welfare, or my physical safety, or threats to my emotional safety. Oh, man, that brings out the resentment. And with the resentment, right, you can't feel resentment without a particular alignment of the musculature. I just start tensing up. Decoding my competing group. Yeah, Ricardo, you are so right, bro. You are so right on. I just love your intuitive sense of things where I'm all stilted. So, yeah, I should call this show An Unsuccessful Guru Takes Pot Shots at Successful Gurus, and in the process tries to paint himself in a more moral, more truth-seeking, more upstanding light, and says, the rest of these gurus, they're just a bunch of scallywags. I'm the honest bloke here. I'm the Diogenes with a lantern looking for truth. They're willing to absorb the arrows of outrageous fortune. But really, it's the unsuccessful guru taking pot shots at those who've made a success of being gurus. So that's either 10% of the truth of what I'm doing, or it's 90%. So it's just somewhere between 10% and 90%. But absolutely need Ricardo to call me out on my pretensions. So anyway, the next book I pick up on Scribe this morning, so we're now talking about 4:30 a.m., right, is Anthony Cumia's autobiography. And before I launch into it, I look up the reviews on Amazon. It's got sterling reviews, and it's a great read. It is funny and honest. I mean, he's awesome. Okay, Luke Ford is able to look at himself and not recoil in horror. Not everyone can do that. I hope so. This is how Luke improves his life. The more I can look at the bad in me, the better off I am. like being at ease with that by forgiving himself, not taking himself too seriously. Yeah, like I didn't ask to be a giant a-hole. Like I didn't ask to be this attention-seeking whore. Like I didn't ask to be this preening narcissist. I didn't ask to be this person who fantasizes about wielding great power over others. I didn't ask to be this bloke who, wants Beatles level of adoration from pretty young women. Like, this is not what I chose. You think I'm happy being stuck in these outdated gender, racial, religious, ethnic stereotypes, being imprisoned, by my own racism and homophobia and Islamophobia and misogyny? I mean, you think I'm happy like this, living in these outdated gender paradigms? I'm the victim here. But this Anthony Cumia autobiography is the shock jock, all right? One half of Opie and Anthony. And according to my friends who've listened, like Anthony was by far the funnier of the two. So, I mean, I can do that routine in front of wokesters, all right? I love doing that routine in front of wokesters. You think I'm happy being a bigot? You think I'm happy being stuck in these outdated gender paradigms? You think I'm happy being stuck with these archaic, traditional, religious folkways? You think I like being this racist? You think I like being this... I mean, they laugh, I laugh, good times all around, even with wokesters. The woker people too. So, Cumia's autobiography is great, right? Radio shock jock of Opie and Anthony fame, and now branched out on his own and does some shows with Gavin McGuinness, and you can find a lot of the highlights on YouTube. But it's just relaxing to read this Anthony Cumia autobiography because it's so honest. Like when my writing teacher said that when you tell the truth, the honest truth, the painful truth, like you feel like the molecules in the air around you change. Right? It's just so relaxing to hear truths, to hear things that have only gone on in your head but spoken aloud by other people. That's what's so great about 12-step meetings. It's like all sorts of nonsense and fears and anxieties and phobias and self-hatreds that rattle around in your own psyche. All right, they get spoken aloud by other people, ones you didn't even know that you had or that you struggled with. And so you read Anthony Cumia or you listen to him, and he's funny because he's honest. He is really good. And Patrice O'Neill said he had a quicker access to funny than anyone else he knew. Don't even get in my way here, guys. Okay, got the light. He's really funny, really brave. And, comedy works when it's true, when it's revealing things that we normally only hear in our heads, but the comedy says it out loud. And it's just so relaxing, so releasing of body armor. And so to that extent, like listening to Anthony Cumia or reading Anthony Cumia's autobiography, it's a holy act. And that you let go of some unnecessary body armoring. You like yourself more. You're more at ease with yourself. You can be more honest about what drives you, what motivates you, how you made a complete buffoon of yourself. It's good for you. It's redemptive. Right? That's the word that Christians love, redemptive. So I just feel happy thinking about highlights of Anthony Cumia's autobiography. The problem is I can't tell the more outrageous stories right now, but I will in a minute. But he's not pretentious, right? He's not putting on airs, all right? He's just fair dinkum. He's dinky die. He's true blue. He's not Vegemite. And so he talks about cheating on his wife with a very wild girl. And so he comes home smelling of sex. And so to disguise it, he gets under his old clunker. Like it's covered with grease and oil. Because he knows his wife knows that his car's a piece of junk. So when he comes home, he says, "Oh, don't touch me, I'm just filthy." He's just covered in grease. That's how he disguises himself. Goes into details about their famous incident at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, 2002, where they had, someone call in, watching a couple have backdoor sex in St. Patrick's Cathedral. So you'd get 2 points for the backdoor sex on the show, and then you'd get various points for doing it at various New York City landmarks. And a security guard caught them. They called the police, and 3 people got arrested. And Opie and Anthony got fired, but they still got paid out on their contract. So for 2 years they didn't have to do a show, and they still got paid out. So not the most elevating material in this book. I don't recommend it for young kids. It's not a family-friendly book, but it's just funny. And particularly if you're a man, you have to empathize with the crazy things they'd get women to do with zucchinis and other vegetables, and the riotous situations they create. So they did like this touring comedy thing in Philadelphia, and Opie and Anthony's crowd was pretty raucous, right? So on the one hand, it's good that they were intense. The downside was that they'd just heckle you, and most comics couldn't handle it. But Bill Burr came out in Philadelphia, like in face of this heckling hostile audience, and just went after them. Don't know much of it. And it was like a classic moment in stand-up comedy. Like he went before a Philadelphia hostile, heckling Philadelphia crowd, and just ripped into Philadelphia over historical things, pop culture things, sporting things. Just spontaneously developed a routine on the spot, and the crowd loved it and cheered him for it. Talks about how something like 2002, I think they learned that Howard Stern wasn't quite as faithful to his wife as he made out. So I was friends with Kendra Jade at that time, and she told me when she'd go on Howard's show that she would, she'd massage a certain part of his anatomy, which normally a happily married, monogamous married man would not be down with. Cumia's biography is going to trigger Luke's sex addiction. No, triggers are for pussies, bro. If you've got substantial recovery, you can feel the trigger just flow through you, and you can release it, and you can move on in your emotional sobriety. I mean, those 2 Sheilas yesterday, if anyone was going to trigger that part of me. But I'm still no fap, still on the path of emotional sobriety. Now, what was I saying? So Howard Stern maybe was not quite as monogamous as he made out, and his home life wasn't quite as great as he made out. And so Opie and Anthony found out about it. I'll give us a review of the film I Am a Sex Addict. Opie and Anthony found out about it, and they started making kind of backdoor comments about it. Luke Ford can watch porn now without getting triggered. Their reaction is a miracle. I mean, think about what a high level of recovery and spirituality. I only think about God now in that sort of situation. Can you imagine the level of righteousness that requires? Having completely transcended, my animal body, that now pretty much a creature of light, a man overwhelmingly of the spirit. I just realized that my instincts and the Torah's instincts are one. And then I'm realizing God wrote the Torah, so me and God are one. My instincts are the same as God's instincts. And so I'll only give you divine truth. I'll only deliver on here the divine karma. So anyway, they make Opie and Anthony make backhanded backdoor comments about Howard Stern's struggling at home life, and Mel Karmazin, the head of CBS Radio, just goes nuts. When 40 hears the Pornhub music, he just immediately gets the urge to get out there and help others. I didn't know there was Pornhub music. I lead such a sheltered existence. So Mel Karmazin just calls him into his office, and Howard's the big money maker. So they get Mein Kampf is the unofficial sequel to no. God forbid. I devote my life to dispelling prejudice and bigotry and gratuitous hatred. So this book is so fun. So apparently Opie and Anthony fell apart when Anthony got divorced. So he was cheating like mad on his wife. And apparently what kept their marriage going for 9 years was that she suddenly discovered her lesbian side, and she got into threesomes with hot chicks and Anthony. And so that really helped the marriage continue. Like for me, I found taking up chess that can often extend a relationship, but Anthony has led a much more visceral life than I have. So anyway, Anthony gets divorced and gets a hot new girlfriend, and Opie, for whatever reason, just hates that Anthony's divorced, because that, I guess, apparently provided Opie some. So apparently Anthony's marriage provided Opie a sense of stability. Then when Anthony got divorced, Opie, lost his. Opie hated Anthony's new hot girlfriend, and that was the beginning of the big wedge that drove Opie and Anthony apart. When Opie releases his critique of Anthony's biography, will Luke disavow? Disavow what? But Anthony Cumia's autobiography is a terrific read. Maybe it's time to do a decoding of the great intellectual Anthony Cumia and his profound philosophical system.